Hi, Ian. Hi, Dr. Webb.
Hello.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing well, and I'm very excited about today's interview. And I think we just lost the picture for Dr. Webb.
I think
Okay, mine is. No, I'm still here. I'm a little glitchy.
Uh-huh.
It says turn off your video to save bandwidth is what it's flashing up here.
Uh-huh.
So I'll do that.
Okay.
Does
Okay.
that help at all?
So,
This would qualify as a technical difficulty.
yeah, I mean that's something which is called a technical difficulty. And
Well, the Northern Territory is renowned for having poor internet, so I can see cars moving behind you, Ian. So that's live, and I can see Qasim moving now. So
uh-huh.
also everybody froze.
Well, we've got your audio clearly, so maybe we can go ahead anyway.
Okay. So let's start. Greetings and welcome, everybody. Welcome to this interview today. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Qasim Khan. I'm an engineer, an entrepreneur, a former banker, and I trade stocks, in the OTC market, NASDAQ, Forex. I also do CFDs and a number of other things. And I am here today to hold an interview with a specific company in the junior gold mining sector, which is ticker name is GMVMF in the OTC markets and GMV in the Toronto Stock Exchange. It is GMV Minerals. And gold, as you all know, is a very important resource and a commodity. That being said, it has holds significant values as a natural resource in the natural resources market, and are mostly closely associated with economies and the wealth of economies. Today, I would like to gladly introduce a junior mining company which I came across, which is run by a few of the most professional people in the industry. Let me introduce them to you. Please allow me to introduce Mr. Ian Klassen. Ian is the president and CEO of GMV Minerals. GMV Minerals is an undervalued junior gold exploration company located in mining-friendly Arizona. Ian is joined by Dr. David Webb. Dr. Webb is a PhD geologist and engineer. He has been with this project they call the Mexican Hat Gold Project since 2014. Welcome to traders and investors, and welcome to Ian and Dr. Webb for this interview. Thank you for taking out time for us today, and hopefully we'll get to learn more about your company. So let me start off with my first question. Ian, please tell us a little bit about yourself, your professional journey. Anything you want to add on to that?
You bet. Qasim, thank you very much for the invitation to be with you today and your viewers. I am 54 years young, originally from Vancouver. I spent my university years in Ontario. Had a bit of the political bug in me at the time, so I ended up working in Ottawa in federal politics. I was involved in speech writing and some transportation policy, and then spent my last few years in Ottawa as the chief of staff to the Speaker of the House of Commons.
Wow.
I moved back out to Vancouver, having had just about my fill of federal politics. Decided to get into the business of corporate communications for micro-cap and small-cap private and public companies. And before long, we had probably the largest company of its kind west of Toronto, servicing a number of resource needs and technology companies. And then I discovered that it was probably going to continue on to be more fun working on my own opportunities than necessarily telling a story of someone else's. And that sort of fast forwards us into where I am with GMV today.
Thank you very much, Ian. That's quite an introduction. And Dr. Webb, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself and your professional journey.
Yeah, I I think I'm going to hide behind the camera here so you won't see me, but I think I started in the mining industry in 1974 as a driller's helper. So I'm not going to date myself. Your listeners can figure it out. Found out that working hard for a living is one way to do it. The other way is to go to school, get an education, and let others work, and you just instruct them. So I have an engineering degree from the University of Toronto, master's in geological sciences from Queen's University,
Wonderful.
PhD from the University of Western Ontario.
Wow.
And I met Ian about 20 some odd years ago, I believe, where he was helping us advance one of my micro-cap companies. And he did very well for us. So it was quite a pleasure to run into him again and assist him on his venture. So, yeah, I've been working internationally and locally in Canada for a few years.
That's very good. Dr. Webb, how would you introduce Ian in your own words? About his commercial sense, his professionalism. Would you like to add a few words there?
Well, I guess I'd start off with the negatives, which I think Ian's very proud of. He's not a geologist. So it gives him a different perspective on things. He doesn't really care that much about the rocks. He's more interested in the value. And a reputable person who says what he does and does what he says, I'm very happy to be aligned with him, and I'll continue to do that as long as he feels the same about me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I take a generalist business approach to the business, and Dave focuses on the rocks, as he put it.
Okay, so that's very nice. How about Ian? You tell in your own words, just a bit about Dr. Webb.
Yeah, by all means. I've been in this business a long time, and when you end up finding and working in a cohesive way with a small group of people, you want to do everything you can to stick with them. Dave is in high demand. He's been a geologist that has worked all over the world. We asked him from the very beginning in 2014 to go down to Arizona and have a look at the project for us. And he came back with 2 or 3 different key opportunities for us in order to go forward. Two opportunities, in fact, we hadn't even considered. So Dave is much more than a in-the-field geologist. He's excellent in the boardroom. He's got common sense. He understands economics are always at play and need to lead any decision-making going forward. And, Dave's available around the clock. He and I kind of joke who's up earlier in the mornings. Some days it's me, some days it's him, but whether it be a 5 a.m. start or a 10 o'clock phone call at night, Dave's always available to us. So he's a much treasured resource for this company going forward and historically.
Thank you very much. This gives us a better understanding how you both feel about yourself, what you're both the decor of yourself, and with the your humbleness is appreciated. In which I wanted you to describe in your own words what you think about each other and how you rate each other. So that is done. Thank you very much. That was a very nice answer. And so Ian, tell me. My next question is, how did you end up at GMV Minerals? And tell us more about the company.
Well, I was one of the co-founders of the company. So after we listed it in a reverse takeover, we ended up trying to find a project in 2014 that we thought was a very good one to go after and work for. The markets themselves were not strong in 2014, but if anything good came out of that prolonged downturn in the junior commodities market, it was an opportunity to secure this asset, and we did. So very proud to have the Mexican hat and a 100% interest in that property going forward.
Nice.
I think it's important for your listeners to also understand, I always like to give a little bit of a corporate backdrop to the company itself so people know the kind of structure that we have as a public company itself. We do trade on the TSX Venture, as you pointed out, also on the OTCQB and in Frankfurt. We have somewhere in the vicinity of 900 shareholders in the company. We have 60 million shares that are issued. That is a very modest number in the world of junior
Excellent.
resource companies. Of those shareholders, about 7 of them own very large independent positions of between 3 and 5 million shares each. So really about 35 to 40 million of the shares within the company just don't see the light of day. We're a very committed management group between my partners on the board and in management of the company and advisors. We own about 12 million shares. We're certainly dedicated to the longevity and success of this opportunity alongside our shareholders. We currently have about 10 million warrants that are outstanding in the company. All of them are in the money. That will bring about another $1.5 million into the treasury, which is always important lifeblood for a junior company. So there's just a bit of backdrop for the size and dimension of the share structure, which is important in any investment.
You have a very excellent share structure. May I know why is it too tight? It's one of the best low floats that I've seen in the OTCQB. It's very nice. What's the reason behind it? Why are there not more shares available in the market to trade?
Well, I mean, dilution is always an important feature when you're running a public company. You don't want to raise too much money at too low a price. Otherwise, you can have a share structure that's quite unwieldy and more difficult to move in an upward fashion. You always want to issue the fewest number of shares possible to achieve your milestones. And since 2014, we started off with a very few number of shares out in the company, have grown to, as I say, 60 million. But those we picked and chose our moments in order to raise money so that we weren't just raising money for the sake of it and didn't have direct milestone targets in order to expend the funds. So we're very minded that way on when and how to raise money, and that speaks to only having 60 million shares issued. But of those, as I mentioned, about 40 of them just are locked away.
Okay, that's very nice.
Which is a double-edged sword, Qasim, if you don't mind me carrying on.
Yeah, please.
The downside is we don't have tremendous amounts of liquidity because there's just not a lot of stock for sale in the company. So we'll reach a certain momentum point where the asset's advanced enough and recognized that you'll start to see the demand outstrip anything else, and we'll be very thankful for having few number of shares issued.
Okay. Excellent. I mean, I should commend you for the share structure of your company, and I mean, everything is very good. I've also got it evaluated by 3 independent research firms, and they've all had good things to say about your company.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I would like to say it because as it was a third-party audit, it went out very well. So far, so good. So, where exactly is your mining operation located? How big is the project? How was it discovered? And what makes it unique?
Well, the project is in the southeast quadrant of the state of Arizona, a very historically favorable place to do business. Arizona has a plethora of geologists and support networks that are there to serve the mining industry. The regulators know exactly what's required, and it's just a good, healthy, safe jurisdiction to work within. The property itself was originally discovered by a highly respected prospector by the name of Manuel Hernandez, who sadly has recently passed away.
Sorry to
The
hear that.
project was worked on in the late 80s and 90s by a world-class explorer by the name of Placer Dome. For some of your older viewers, they'll certainly recognize Placer Dome. They did excellent work and were recognized everywhere for the quality that they brought to their field exploration. Over the years, the project has been in a number of different companies and fractional interests, and only under GMV's umbrella have we been able to assemble the whole land package under one entity. And so, that's where we are today. We're 72 miles southeast of Tucson, 33 miles north of the Mexican border. The project itself is a structurally controlled gold epithermal target So this kind of project lends itself very well to an open pit heap leach type scenario.
Wonderful, wonderful. For my next question, tell us about the exploration you have completed so far. At what stage are you at this progression? And can you mention a few names of those who have worked with on the Mexican Hat project? Any renowned names in the process?
Oh yeah, sure. Dave, do you want to tackle the exploration work, and I can address our partnerships?
Sure. When we first went down to take a look at it, it was a review of largely placer domes work. And to take a look at the property, there had been some recent drilling from some junior companies. I guess 2 other junior companies have had a go on the property. But what was important is that nobody had actually consolidated the data to interpret what it means since Placer Dome did their work. And they had done very focused drilling and said, well, there's probably somewhere around 150,000 ounces of gold that might be mineable. And subsequent drilling had gone on to test that and expand it, but they didn't try and assess it again. So we went in, we relogged everything, we sampled everything we could. We collected thousands of soil samples across an expanded area to see if there were any other zones of mineralization. We did an aerial survey so that we have a good base map and topography we can work with. And when we're doing some resource work, sometimes you'll find out that the people had mis-surveyed and they've got a drill hole plotted 30 feet up in the air or 30 feet below surface. So we had to fix all that. We did some ground geophysics. We did magnetics, electromagnetics, audio magnetics. We did a couple of gravity profile lines. And we collected some metallurgical testing because the property has a number of features on it that are unique. And the metallurgy is one of the things that will be raised by many people reviewing it.
That's wonderful. So Dr. Webb, what do you think? In your throughout your career, how would you rank this specific project and this specific asset in your view?
I love it. I wish I owned it. I wish it was mine. But that said, the unique thing is it's a great location. If you want to permit a mine, you can try and do it in Canada, Mongolia, Africa, wherever. I can't think of a better place than where we are located. The positive feedback we've had from the regulators, that includes the inspectors coming out to check and see have we reclaimed our drill sites properly and our roads. They're all very positive and very good to us. The local ranchers are really happy to sign on and assist us. They'll bring over their backhoe they happen to have if we need some backhoe work. Occasionally you'll get a truck stuck in a hole in the ground or something and they'll come and pull you out. It's just That's nice. Lovely place to work. But geologically, there's a couple things that I look for. One is grade, size, and ease of recovery. And this deposit is not an unusually high grade. It's really kind of an average grade deposit. And it's a good size, when it's up in the 700, 800,000 ounce range, depending on how you look at it. But the metallurgy, when you can recover 85% of that gold in a heap leach as opposed to 75%, all of a sudden that average grade you have works out to a better than average recovered grade when you go through your metallurgical recoveries. So you're now dealing with a better than average grade, a really decent size that has clear, can you make it 1 million ounces? And my feeling is, yeah, not hard.
Wow.
The drilling is open to the east, to the west, to the north. The last drill holes are in good grade mineralization. Just keep drilling.
Yeah. And Qasim, I just want to underscore, we've also done about 15,000 meters of drilling on the property and have spent considerable work on the metallurgy. We've done standard wide bottle roll tests, and we've also built some columns to leach over a 6-month period. So we've got a lot of very detailed information, and this leaches probably better than any other deposit that I'm personally aware of. I chatted just yesterday with our metallurgist on the project from a couple of years ago, and he just recalls just how splendidly it did leach, and that's critically important in any mining operation, but perhaps even more so in an open pit scenario. In November of 22, we crossed a really important milestone for the property by taking receipt of this independent preliminary economic assessment. They call it a PEA.
Okay.
These are independent reports put together by qualified persons in their areas of expertise under what we call national instrument. And then it's an important threshold. It's an important test because it's where a lot of junior assets go and die because they fail for one reason or another. And it's quite a rigorous review of geology, engineering, environmental, economics, metallurgy, as I say. And we came out of the other end with I think a terrific report, a very robust net present value, and an opportunity that lends itself to a 10-year mine structure producing over 52,000 ounces a year. So we're really excited about it and feel that the project has all the right ingredients for success.
Is the report available for download on your website, or is the information public and accessible?
Yeah, the PEA is a public document. It took about 6 weeks to finish between all of the qualified persons and their writing and their contributions. You can find it on our website, which is GMVMinerals.com. It's on our homepage. You just have to scroll to the bottom and click on it, and you'll have the 280-page report on your email for nighttime reading.
All right, that's perfect. We'll definitely do that, and yeah, I think because you are being upfront, so transparent, the audience will appreciate it more that you have everything available, on your website, and you're sharing all the information with the world, and that is due to your credibility in the industry. And two, you want to do transparent business, which is a good practice.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it.
Dr. Webb, in your career, how many junior gold mining companies have you worked with? Just to have a ballpark number, and where do you rank GMV Minerals?
That's a tough question because they're all different. I worked on some projects that I've owned myself that have been over 2 million ounces of drilled off resource going into full bankable feasibility studies, and that's a bigger number than what Ian has. But Ian's team is what makes the thing work. I don't care how good it is, but if it's tied up in a terrible capital structure or a terrible management structure or in a terrible jurisdiction, it won't work. I don't care. But what GMV has, I love the project. I love the geology of it because it is somewhat unique, and that's I guess shown in the very high recoveries. These are almost mill-like recoveries that are obtained from a heap leach that does not require fine grinding. It's actually remarkably coarse grinding, but because of the disposition of the gold, it occurs on fractures. So you can imagine you hit a rock and you hit it with a hammer, it will probably break along a fracture. So you don't have to crush it up into a powder, it will just naturally break where the gold happens to be. So that's something that I have not seen on many other projects that I've worked on. So this is just that's a golden handshake to the company in that it really delivers something to you right away.
Yeah, Qasim, when you and I first met, you asked me one of the best questions I've been asked, and that is, what are sort of 4 or 5 of the key pillars that you're proud of in the company? And I thought it was an excellent question. And the way I think about it is not only do I run GMV Minerals on a day-to-day basis, but I'm also an investor in the sector and in other companies. And I always look for certain things that I like to see as pillars for where I should put my hard-earned money. And the same would be what I try to espouse within the company that I run on a daily basis. So, good jurisdiction is terribly important. A scalable gold asset in our case, a share structure that's intact, a management team that operates with integrity and has a history of doing so, and an ability to draw a team together that has the expertise, the history, the reliability in order to advance a project through its connections and through its expertise. And we've got that at the management level, the board level, and at our advisory board level. We've got terrific people associated with the team.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that answer. I have a question. Why? How would you? There are so many companies out there in NASDAQ, in OTC markets. What is that one thing about your company which makes it extremely unique as a junior gold mining project? Extremely unique, that one thing.
Well, I mean, the answer to that today is maybe different than it would have been 3 months ago and maybe 3 months from now. But really at the heart of it is where you are in the continuum of taking your project through development and as an operating mine where you can hold a bar of gold in your hand at the end of the day. In our situation, we started with nothing. We've been able to build up almost 700,000 ounces in a national instrument, 43101. Been through the preliminary economic stage and are now going to be moving forward with three main components. One, carrying forward all of our baseline environmental studies. Some of these are long line items of 2 to 3 years in order to get the federal regulators and the state regulators to give you your actual drilling permits to start operation. But we're going to focus our attention now that we've got the PEA in hand, to do an expansion drill program where we've had world-class outside people to collaborate with Dave on designing the next phase drill program, which we announced just a couple of days ago. Once that's completed, we'll be moving forward to mature the asset by doing some conversion drilling of placer domes holes, bringing them up to a national instrument certification, so that then we're ready for a feasibility study. And no matter what, without another shovel being moved on this property, I think it comes down to value model and the value proposition. We've got ounces in the ground. It's a viable project to go forward in an excellent jurisdiction. And we're only getting recognition for about $22 an ounce in the ground. And some of our peers can be valued as high as $80, $90 in the ground. So, we're trading at 22, 23 cents Canadian, and I would argue we're significantly undervalued. And now that we have all of our reporting over with, and we're ready to get back to expanding and enhancing the actual asset itself, we should start to spend the time and expertise to start getting the word out in some of the investment community, so that we can get a fair representation in the market for what we think we've been able to build by value.
Okay, thank you. Sounds very interesting. Sounds very enterprising. And my next question would be focused on for the audience. Can you tell them what is the difference between a junior gold mining company and something that is not a junior gold mining company, and what is a junior gold mining company?
Sure. It's probably safe to break down the different kinds of, in this case, gold companies in three categories. There's the majors, and those are producers. Those are the big companies, the Barricks of the world and Goldcorps and the like. They produce, multiple millions of ounces of their commodity a year, and usually operate on a multinational basis with very significant assets. Down from that would be, low billion-dollar valued companies by way of market cap that are intermediates or mid-tier operators. They may have 1 to 3 different operating mines, collectively producing up to 1 million ounces or 500,000 ounces a year of gold. And then there's the juniors, which are sometimes the long-lost cousin, where they have low capitalizations. They end up operating at the behest of the gold price or the opportunity to raise money and investigate different areas of merit. Juniors are typically a higher risk investment, but the reward is much more significant than perhaps the other two elements within the hierarchy of gold companies. And traditionally, junior companies do all the early groundwork, all the legwork to build an asset, to get it to a size and dimension that a mid-tier operator or a large major can come along and sort of pick up and take it from where you left off.
Okay, very nice. Has any third party evaluated your stock price and given you a value on it?
Well, I mean, you're valued every day and every time you want to go into the market and raise money. But from an e-research, there's research reports by brokerage firms, and we don't have any analyst coverage at this point because we have just recently, finished our reporting and are putting our plans together for 2021. But we certainly have substantial brokerage interest. Most of our capital raises to date have been from family money organizations, family offices in Europe, as well as high net worth individuals. So we haven't formed a banking relationship per se, but that's going to change as we mature the project.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Would you and Ian, would you and Dr. Webb like to share how you want to answer this is up to you. What is the speculation and prospect of gold? How does the future look? And is your cost of operation in line with the future?
Yeah, Dave, if you don't mind, I'll just continue on. I don't know that, especially given the last couple of weeks and the bit of the tumultuous nature of the spot gold price, that my crystal ball is any better than anybody else's. But I would say that some of the most advanced international and respected investment banks continue to have their targets of $2,000 spot gold or even $2,300 gold in 2021. I think we've got a little bit to go, certainly, before we get that confidence in the marketplace and start to see those prices ramp up. But this project has been priced by way of our PEA at a base case of $1,600 gold. We make a lot of money at $1,600.
Okay.
And then just as the gold price continues and will hopefully retract and turn back the other way as it had in a lot of 2020. When you get to $1,900 and $2,000 gold, the profit numbers out of this deposit, as anticipated in the PPA's economics, are very impressive, to say the least.
Wow, that's wonderful. So your cost of operation is less than what is the cost of gold in the market? That's what you
yeah, sure. I mean, the way this is set up right now, Qasim, the takeaway on the economics is that this would be a two-stage crushing circuit in the field, and it would be stacked at about 10,000 ton a day of ore. So 10,000 tons a day would go through the mill, the crushing circuit. We'd use a conventional heap leach pad. It determined a 10-year mine life open to expansion, 52,500 ounces a year on average, a head grade of 0.58 grams, an enviable low strip ratio of 1.87. So that's very, very good. And using $1,600 gold, we've got an internal rate of return on our capex of about 39.4%. The payback is about 2.85 years, and our net present value with a 5% discount is over 153 million, all U.S. currency. So at $1,600 gold, it's a very profitable situation. At 2,000, it becomes a little bit silly. The numbers are terrific.
Wonderful. So
our cash cost is estimated to get right back to your original question. The report dictated $951 as the estimated cash cost per ounce.
So you're already in the money without a single shovel.
By far.
Yeah. That's really nice. Would you like to share, Ian? Would you like to share the profiles of the various people who are engaged in your operation, your consultants, the companies that you work with for engineering?
Yeah, I mean, as a junior, you've got to maintain a watchful eye on your costs to make sure that really, I approach this as everybody on the team is there to support the geology. Everyone's there to support the drillers and the geologists because at the end of the day, that's the asset in the company. You have to enhance it, you've got to support it, you've got to continue to nurture it. But often you have to go outside of your full-time employee structure in this business. And so, you know, we've retained American Mining and Tunneling, for example, to do our various drill programs. You know, they do an awful lot of drilling for Barrick and a number of very, very significant companies in the state of Nevada right next door. Tetra Tech, a worldwide recognized engineering firm to co-author our resource calculations and our resource studies. Samuel Engineering, Golder, Tierra Group Systems, you know, to name a few. Plus, we're looking at some very advanced baseline work to go forward, either from Tetra Tech or SRK Engineering. These are names that are widely recognized within the industry.
Wow, wow. Thank you. I mean, it helps to get to know, you know, that you're working with reputable people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So, how many employees do you have in your company, and what type of human capital do you have at the moment?
On a full-time basis, we probably have, I would say, 5 full-time people that are dedicated to GMV. When we do have an active field program happening, that ramps up to, you know, 15, 16 people.
Okay. Thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
So, what are your company prospects for 2021? What can people expect? Would you like to share any plans or strategies?
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a pivotal year for us. It's going to be a year where, you know, we start the all-important baseline work that studies archaeological reviews, native plant surveys, geophysical study, water studies for hydrology. This is all in a view to meet the needs of the environmental regulations so that we act as a good corporate citizen within the jurisdiction in Southeast Arizona. It's a multi-year process. We're probably 36 months from the time we begin to when we would be able to expect mining permits to go forward to allow us to become an operating mine. So, you know, these are important initiatives, and we have to make sure we're working with the right group. And I think we've got the right group to do that going forward. So we're gonna have an announcement out about that very shortly. As I say, we've already announced our expansion drill program that we'll be doing, and then after that, the conversion program to move our resource from inferred to a largely measured and indicated, which will be important as we go to a feasibility study. So, you know, lots of drilling and lots of data collection. It's sort of the lifespan of a junior, but we are moving the company forward in a development manner.
Okay. Just to add on to this question, how do you think, you know, like, where do you see your company 3 years from now?
Yeah. 3 years from now, I would expect that we will have an identified resource of north of 1 million ounces. That will have a bankable feasibility study which demonstrates the viability from an economic standpoint that the mine should be put into production. And on our way to smiling with a share price that make shareholders happy they got in at a very low level.
Okay, that's very nice. Dr. Webb, would you like to end add any comments at the end of this interview? I mean, for the audience, any words you would like to put?
Yeah, I think Ian has approached this in a very logical way. Honestly, when we went down there in 2014, it was, is this really here? Because it looks almost too good to be true. And it is a little bit of an interesting deposit, and it was because of Placer Dome's involvement. When you get a world-class international company doing the work and saying, yes, it's there, it brings some credibility. And the initial work we did was tentative. Let's just check and confirm both the geology and the metallurgy. And when that came back confirmed, it was, well, let's then consolidate everything and see what the resource is, because it hasn't been done for decades, with a lot of additional work on hand. And we showed that it jumped. I can't remember what the first year was, but we went from a roughly 150,000 that Placer Dome thought could be there to over 400,000 ounces in our initial resource estimate.
Wow.
Which we immediately ran out and checked. The peer review, we contacted an independent engineering group to review it, and they came up with another 20,000 or 30,000 more ounces than what we had. So it was, not only was it confirmed, but we were conservative. And the whole approach to the project is logical, conservative development. Drill, not everywhere, but in the best places, confirm that. And if that works, then follow up. Maybe it's not a sprint to the end, but we will reach the end.
Wow. I mean, for my audience, these are words coming out of a person, who's given all his life to geology. He's a world-renowned geologist. He's a PhD, an engineer. And I mean, the industry knows him as one of the gurus in geology and metallurgy. And I'm very happy to have that answer from you, specifically for this company because of its asset and for giving this veracity to the audience and to the retail market and all the investors who would be actually joining you very soon, I hope. And Ian, before I finish, I have one question. So, do you have any plans to uplist to NASDAQ?
No, not in the immediate future. As I mentioned, we trade on the OTCQB board, which is a mature listing on the over-the-counter market in the U.S., recognized, and everybody can trade it in the U.S. audience.
Mm-hmm.
Our TSX venture listing and in Frankfurt covers us in Europe. As the company's asset matures from a listing standpoint, I think it would only make logical sense to seek a more senior listing in the U.S. But where we are today, it certainly meets our criteria and our needs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'd like to also, not only have we enjoyed our working relationship with Dave, but we have been able to attract some terribly high-end people to this story. We've got Roger Newell on our advisory board. Roger is the former chief geologist for Newmont on the Carlin Trend in Nevada. We've got Joel Schneier, who recently came on our advisory board. He's a managing partner at Capstone Headwaters in Denver, a very resource-based finance boutique. Prior to joining the firm in Denver, he was the head of mining finance at Barclays in New York. Had to essentially analyze and give the thumbs up to any project in the Northern Hemisphere that Barclays was going to fund. These are not the types of guys that join a fledgling junior for the sake of it. They understand and are aligning their names with a management group and an asset that they can be proud of. Wow. and proud to have their name stand on. So, we've got some good things coming, and I would hope that your listening base would start to pay some pretty close attention to our moves in the next number of weeks and months.
Impressive, really impressive, remarkable. Like all the things that you've told me of the company, so far, I mean, really make it a unique gold mining proposition.
Yeah.
For my so Ian, as we approach the end of the interview, is there any message you would like to give out to your investors, your shareholders, and the audience? And what do you plan for them, and what can you share with them today?
Well, you want to invest, if you're going to allocate some of your money into the junior gold space, you want to make sure you've looked at the backgrounds of management. You want to make sure that the structure of the company is sound. You want to make sure they're operating where the rule of law prevails. Not somewhere in a developed part of the world, undeveloping part of the world, where a country regime might come in and and overtake the asset itself, or tax you in a crazy manner that you never have profit built in for shareholders. Look, we want you to be careful. We want you to do your homework. We're a very responsive management group. You can reach us on email or through our website or directly. I answer my own phone. If anyone has any questions and want to understand more, we're happy to take the time to educate and go through matters with interested parties. I would just encourage your listeners to take advantage of that if they're looking at making an investment into a company that is very well along, very undervalued as it currently exists. But we're going to change that.
Very nice, very nice. So, everybody, we have reached the end of this interview. This was the CEO of GMV Minerals, Mr. Ian Klassen, and Dr. David Webb, renowned names in the junior gold mining project space, and they have been working with the majors. They have given all their lives to work on these. They carry very reputable names in the industry, and you would like to do your due diligence on what I'm saying and correct me where I'm wrong. I have done mine very thoroughly, and I reached the conclusion that this is the junior gold mining project which I want to work with. And thank you very much for joining us on this interview today for my audience. And thank you very much, Mr. Ian Klassen and Dr. David Webb. And it has been a pleasure, having this interview with you today. And we hope to keep the discussion ongoing. And we're going to be looking at your progress, and we hope you have some significant milestones upcoming. And you look like a very promising company. And it's really very impressive. Thank you so much.
Qasim, thank you very much for your time. Stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Webb. And if you would just give me a moment, I would like to turn off my live audience. Thank you very much.
You bet.